What we're getting there. Keep it going. I will start by singing a song, I Am Not There, which is a song I wrote to a poem by Mary Elizabeth Fry, who, incidentally, Mary Elizabeth was Eleanor's mother's name, too. But this poem, actually, she had asked me to read at her mother's memorial. And then I wrote the song for my father's memorial. And I sang it at the memorial of my first wife, my daughter's mother. And so now I'm singing it again. And it keeps slightly evolving, although it's somewhat limited because I've got a recorded track. So, anyways, let me have that.
Up here, down here, anywhere.
Okay, so level, good. Okay. When you are ready. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there, and I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glint on the snow. I am the sun on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft twinkling starlight at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. Not die. It's been nearly 2.5 months since we've lost Eleanor from being a part of our community. Speaking for myself, it's been very hard. She was my best friend, my love, a creator of beauty, a true example of compassion, and an inspiration of healthy body and spirit. And, not to forget, an exemplary spokesperson for the virtues of purple and turquoise. We first met in 1994 at a mutual friend's birthday party. I'm just going to adjust this up a little bit. Okay. And we hit it off with a great connection. She was dancing to a CD of Zat Mama, an all-woman Belgian Congolese a cappella group that I had brought as a gift. And Eleanor never did stop dancing, even in her bed in the hospital that last week. That was essentially my first introduction to the Bolinas community, and quite a few people that are here today were there then. She told me she was a teacher of the Alexander technique, which I had some awareness of, but no experience. And I came out after a while and had an introduction to the approach and to this whole mindset when trying to change what you've been doing. Don't try and counter it, adding to the effort with an opposing behavior. But notice what you are doing that is not productive, what unintended effort you're putting forth, and do less of that. A metaphor for much of life. Then, a little later, we went on our first real date, a Verdi opera, Otello. Though I had been heavily involved in music all my life, including classical music, I had actually never gone to an opera, and I didn't particularly think that it was my bag. Well, actually, some opera is and some isn't, but I did come to really enjoy certain styles of opera and certain singers who, to a large extent, happened to be Eleanor's favorites. She had some good taste in singers. That was in October of '94, and we were pretty quickly a couple from then on. So we shared a lot of each other's musical experiences. Some we met on, some remained as our individual preferences. But among the shared ones were a lot of a cappella improvisational music out of the circle of Bobby McFerrin, Rhiannon, and Joey Blake, and other members of So Vo So. A lot of world music fusion, some gospel music, some shared jazz tastes, and some shared classical music tastes, and a lot of one-of-a-kind, indescribable, had-to-be-there adventures. And among them, I have to say, was somebody that a lot of us know, Greg Schindel, who I just found out just past this Friday. So Eleanor introduced me to Bolinas and her friends here, and the Bolinas community spirit, and Bolinas is my home because of her. So let me back up here and bring up some history. Eleanor was born to Mary Elizabeth Acker Partridge and Daniel Partridge III on August 12, 1938 in Altoona, Pennsylvania, on a family vacation, but essentially resided in Washington, D.C. until she was 8. She has one sister, Sylvia Partridge, who now lives on Kauai, and I'll be seeing her in a couple weeks. She unfortunately was not able to come. And so they live next door to her aunt and uncle, Marjorie and Duncan Phillips, who were great collectors of art and the founders of the famous Phillips collection in D.C. So without going into too much detail, she was steeped in an appreciation of art by a family who was deeply in love with and involved with the world of art, and who supported the careers of some of the great artists of the first half of the 20th century. She carried that love of artistic creation through her life, though at a certain point, a Jungian psychologist suggested that her life could be her art, and she definitely did take that one on. Her parents had divorced when Eleanor was quite young, and then when her mother became engaged to John Lyman, they moved to Los Banos when she was 8, and to Marin County when she was 9. and John Lyman was transferred to the San Francisco office of the company he was working for. Alice Kent and her family had become friends with her family, and Eleanor first started visiting Bolinas to the Kent estate, the very property where she came to live from 1972 onward, before she was even a teenager. Eleanor attended Sarah Lawrence College for a year, but ultimately chose an art education at the San Francisco Art Institute, where she started with painting but soon gravitated to pottery. That ultimately led to a long period of working at the pot shop in Berkeley under the tutelage of Peter Volkos. She made her living building hand-built pottery and ceramic sculpture for 25 years, and many of her creations are still to be found in houses around Bolinas and beyond, and we have gotten together quite a nice collection over there along that wall. All of it owned by me or others. None of it is actually up for sale at this point. Around 1972, Eleanor had reconnected with Alice Kent at a Jungian conference in the city. They rekindled their friendship, and some days later, Eleanor had had a dream that she had moved to the Kent property on Wharf Road. She ignored it because she was very busy in Berkeley making pottery for the upcoming holiday season. Several days after that, Alice called Eleanor by accident, wrong number. Eleanor told her that she had had that dream. Eleanor said she could stay there and check it out, and the rest is history. Years of doing heavy work with clay ultimately took its toll, and Eleanor was experiencing severe chronic neck and back pain. Sandra Nyman, another longtime former Bolinas resident, introduced her to the Alexander technique and interested her in taking a week-long workshop with Marge Barstow, a 90-year-old first-generation student of FM Alexander, whose physical condition was such that Eleanor saw it as the way to continue into a healthy and active old age. And I would say it worked. She studied at the Academy of Alexander Technique in San Francisco, became certified as an Alexander teacher, and taught privately and in groups for quite a few years. The grace and ease with which Eleanor moved is a tribute to its success, though I can't imagine that she wasn't a graceful and playful dancer all her life. She danced by herself or with others virtually every day, and could often, as many of you know, be seen dancing on the beach without music near the clam patch. One thing for sure, she was always, at least in my experience, a very physically active person who, while not being a hardcore athlete, spent most of an hour and a half exercising every morning, right up to her last week. Eleanor was very involved with maintaining and preserving the unique quality of Bolinas, and was particularly active with limiting the use of toxic pesticides, keeping air traffic routes from being overhead and over the water instead, and the cessation of a very noisy police shooting range in the hills across from Highway 1. And then also another noise factor is, if she had not been on top of it, we would be hearing the noise of cars much louder out on Highway 1, because they were going to build rumble strips out right through here where it would have been audible right into town, and she got that where they did it differently through the area where it would have affected us the most. She was passionate about herself and others learning to communicate their needs and boundaries, and respecting the needs and boundaries of others without blame, with the study of nonviolent communication and the teaching of Don Miguel Ruiz, best known for the Four Agreements. She placed a great deal of value to the traits of curiosity, diversity, openness, and acceptance. She certainly gave me a living example for dealing with conflict in a conscious manner, which helped me to move out of some of my own deep-seated patterns of avoidance and denial. She really did take responsibility for actions, and even more so over the years, and was quick to apologize and make things right when she saw herself as part of the problem. She was an avid gardener, but not in the style of English formal gardens. More like, let the plants duke it out and let's see how it plays. She was a superbly creative cook who intuitively put together surprising combinations of simple ingredients and came out with her own range of wonderful recipes, most of which were never written down. We loved to cook together. Eleanor was essentially an optimist. The glass was always at least half full, and even if prospects were dim, she was going to enjoy it the best she could and be grateful for what she had, while knowing that the shit might hit the fan at any moment. At least it was a useful foil to my often darker take on things. We shared the music we loved, the art that we loved, and a lot of quiet time, not always needing to be talking. Eleanor was so healthy and vibrant that it seemed that she might have lived forever. Particularly over the past several years, she had been finding her way into having a peaceful relationship with the challenges of aging and the inevitability of death. She had also been wishing to commune with her parents and relatives who had passed on and reframe some of the interactions that she had had with them when she understood less about their motivations and background and her own. Out of the stories of near-death experiences by both people whom she knew personally or had read of, she had some inkling and hope that attaining that might be part of the post-death experience. She certainly never felt that she knew what might happen, but she had her hopes. At any rate, by age 85, she was keenly aware of her mortality and had gotten to a place where she was very comfortable with it, actually curious about what her experience would be, and she often expressed that to others. We had both, in the very near term, been in the process of getting our affairs in order, but like a bolt out of the blue, that got really real. She had been experiencing some recent symptoms that she had attributed to a mold exposure after having been poring over a bunch of old art books that had been in storage. And whether that was actually a factor, I don't know, but in April she felt really bad, went to emergency, and was admitted to the hospital with a preliminary diagnosis of pneumonia. And after 8 days of very difficult treatment and a declining prognosis, she died. During the course of that time, she felt that the end was coming and made her peace with it in an astoundingly calm and accepting way. You never really know how someone may or may not walk their talk in that kind of situation, but she absolutely did walk her talk. To be in the presence of that was no way easy, but it was a pretty awesome, in the literal meaning of the word, awesome. So now, I'm still missing her terribly, but I am glad to have had 30 years with her and want to remember her and have her friends remember her for the beautiful times that we had together and for the beauty and wisdom that she brought to people through her intentions, actions, and way of being in the world. During that last week, I sang to her a lot, and in particular a song that I had written to her back in 2011, which became, as it were, our song. Our love makes it a sunny day. Our love makes it a sunny day. Though the thunder may crash and the wind may lash upon our window pane, in vain our love carries me through the night. everything will be alright. Whatever may go wrong, I know it won't be long before it is through. And even if it's rough, I know we can hang tough, because we are too much in love to be blue. Our love has grown too big to fail. You can bet without doubt we won't need a bailout, 'cause we are saving sunshine for a rainy day. Whenever may go wrong, I know it won't be long before it is through, because I've got you. And even if it's rough, I know we can hang tough, because we are too much in love to be blue. Our love has grown too big to fail. You can bet without doubt we won't need a bailout, 'cause we are saving sunshine for a rainy, sunshine for a rainy, sunshine for a rainy day. Saving sunshine for a rainy day. They say there ain't no sunshine when she's gone, but I am saving sunshine for a rainy day. Martine, why don't you come up here, because you are going to give us a little opening sutra, and here you are. Would you prefer the wireless mic?
I think I'd like to have this, if I may.
Okay.
And so Eleanor, and I love the Radiant Sutras, which are 112 beautifully written in Sanskrit teaching guides that originated, who knows how far, that 800 years ago they were discovered in Sanskrit, but they were probably passed on oral tradition for a long time before that. And so one of the things we often did in gathering in little groups with Eleanor was everybody would share something, and she would encourage me to share a Radiant Sutra. So if you hung out with her, you know she was the embodiment of blessing. And then you also know that she would make you feel that you were also the embodiment of blessing. And I love that she was the embodiment of the unity of body, mind, spirit. Embodiment of the union of spirit and the body, and instead of the old dichotomy, separation. And one of the things the Radiant Sutras say is that they see the body as a temple where spirit and matter meet and consummate their love, where each breath is an adoration of the infinite or the incarnate soul. So I'm going to do about 6 stanzas of a Radiant Sutra, and then I'd like to invite you when I end, rather than making any noise with your hands, you're welcome to twinkle if you want to, but I'd just like to savor the resonant field that is created with our hearts by this sutra, just for a few moments of silence, and then Rick will come up. There is a space in the heart where everything meets. Come here if you want to find me. Mind, senses, soul, eternity, all are here. Are you here? Enter this bowl of vastness, the heart. Give yourself to it with total abandon. A quiet ecstasy is here, and a steady, regal sense of resting in a perfect spot. You, who are the embodiment of blessing, once you know the way, the nature of attention will call you to return again and again. Answer that call and be saturated with knowing, I belong here. I am home.
Thank you, Martin. I just, while I was sitting over there, it caused me to remember, I want to say something about this painting here, which I have never seen before. This was painted by Steve Neustadt. And Cass Hicks called me the other day, and she was not able to make it today, but she was aware of this painting, and she had a photograph of it that she sent to me. And I said, I love it, and so she got it from Armida, Steve's wife. Steve's no longer with us, and so it's here today, and I just love it because it really captures her essence, and then that picture with her, and then Chad and his dog. I mean, it just seems like such a just such a Belina statement. I want it. Anna, would you want to say anything next? I would like to invite Anna O'Malley, our wonderful integrative physician in town, who was really helped Eleanor so much through that last period of time, and she said she wanted to say something here, and to you.
I'm really so grateful for that Radiant Sutra, because I feel it right here, and I feel her right here. And what I want to say is that when Eleanor was on my schedule in the clinic, I would look forward to the moment where I would go into a room and see a luminous, like, embodiment of beauty, creativity, and play beaming back at me. And that invariably she would have, something that she wanted to check in about, but so much wisdom that was just like, how to say, like, there she was floating in her beautiful, light, airy sweetness, but as you began to engage in the conversation, you could just feel like, oh, here is a spiritual adept who, like, knows her body and knows life and knows what she wants and what she doesn't, and she's gonna, like, just be in the spirit of play. And Rick, I loved what you said about how she really walked her talk. It is one of the deepest and profoundly humbling joys professionally and personally to be able to accompany someone on the end-of-life journey. And it was a bolt out of the blue. We had a somewhat prescient sort of a talk about it a few months prior. And so to have the opportunity to be in support of someone as they're going through something like that, and to feel her, to witness and to feel someone who is so thoroughly at home in her body, her being, her curiosity, her hopeful optimism of what's on the other side, in the face of the medical system, in in a really obviously life-threatening situation. To witness that was profoundly moving, and it was a total honor to support both you, Rick, and her. And to be a person of medicine who deeply is curious myself about healing energies, to witness her anywhere in this community, especially on the dance floor. Like, I also love to dance, and like, ooh, she's so fun to dance with. And I feel like I feel her spirit like permeating like the most beautiful goodness and creative gorgeousness of Bolinas, which is like play and creativity and beauty and color and just like, freedom of expression and being, and to witness her in that, and to know that it permeated her being on a cellular level that allowed her to be this like beautiful, completely inspiring and like healthy on every sense of the word being. Like, it was just an honor to behold. And I will carry that with me forever. And it has, it's informing where I would like to go with my own path, because it was such a profound experience to support her and you. So, thank you. Thank you.
Stuart, would you like to?
Yeah. Captain, do you want to come up and help me? Well, being a small-town troubadour, in many ways, grieving and memorials has become a really important part of expressing our community.
Mike.
Okay, has that better? Yes.
Yes.
So I've got 3 short songs that have occurred to me over the past 30 years as different community members have left. And I just want to say first, thank you, Eleanor. Magnificent performance. I mean, that was really an amazing. And I feel her presence with us all the time. And I feel that she's an inspiration to all of us. And so I'm going to raise the vibration with a few songs now. Very short song. And you can sing along if you want to follow.
Yay.
Rest in peace, Eleanor, rest in peace. Now you are relieved. Rest in peace, Eleanor, rest in peace. Now Your memory lives on and on. Oh, we love you. We always will. Your spirit lives within us still. Rest in peace, Eleanor, rest in peace. Now you are released. Rest in peace, Eleanor, rest in peace. Now you are released. I remember I wrote that song for Nancy Whitefield. Tell me you remember Nancy Whitefield. Yeah. I like this one too. It's a little simple. She was a good gal. She was a good friend. She was Eleanor. Now she's gone. I just want to celebrate her. Really try to appreciate her. I just want to honor her from now on. Now that Eleanor, now that Eleanor, now that Eleanor has passed on. Well, it's a short life, it's a bit dry when you're gone. You're gone. I just want to celebrate it. Really try to appreciate it. I just want to honor it from now on. Now that Eleanor, now that Eleanor, now that Eleanor has passed on. Okay, finally, one little more one. I want to leave you with a little bit of an upbeat feeling as we grieve, sorta, but yeah, I think this was for Cyprus. Every song has a person behind it, I tell you, because it's almost like the grieving and the energy of the loss creates some kind of field for the song to come through. So, life is so temporary. And life is so temporary. And what's really necessary when life is so temporary? And life is so temporary. Wild river keeps on rolling along. Life is like a singer singing a song, going on too long. Just when you think you'll never end, a life comes around the last bend. is so temporary. Yeah, life is so temporary. Oh, yeah, what's really necessary when life is so temporary?
I think at this point, I had just gotten a note from Ruby Lee, who a bunch of you know, this morning, and she asked me to just read a statement for her. Ruby says, Eleanor moved with effortless ease and had an uncanny ability to see energy blocks in the body when teaching the Alexander technique. She would use her calm, soothing voice to activate the blocked area and restore the body to optimum health and well-being. My healing sessions with her were truly transformative. She and I would get together regularly to study anatomy, not only the musculoskeletal aspects, but also the internal organs. Even now, as I model figures in clay with my hands, I can see and hear her in my heart while making sure that my sculptures are symmetrical and balanced with no energy blocks. Eleanor instilled in me and others her healing mantra: allow your neck to soften, spine lengthen, back widen. I've been away for almost 10 years, and I cannot imagine Bolinas without her. Her spirit will always be among us, near or far. With great love to one and all, Ruby Lee. Freya?
Oh, great. Hi, my name is Freya. I was 1.5 when Eleanor moved to Bolinas, and I've known her since then, basically my whole life, through my parents, Judy and Dale. And she was just such a wonderful, sweet presence in my life. And in the last week or so before she passed, I noticed that she was saying thank you to everybody. She was telling everyone how grateful she was for them. And so I have written 2 poems for her. The first was one that I actually wrote about 4 days after she was in the hospital, and I was able to send it to Rick, and she was actually able to hear it. And I wrote it in present tense at the time. This is a slightly altered version in past tense. And the second one was a poem that I wrote about a month after she passed. And I wrote it usually right in the morning after meditating, and I didn't even really know what it was about or who it was for. And I reread it about 3 weeks after, and I was like, oh, this is Eleanor. So that's the second one that I'll read. So the first one is called Gentle Gratitude. Oh, Eleanor, your smile, slow and true, spreading across your face, as you sat so straight, gazed in clear-sighted joy, acceptance of the world, the people around you, the friends who touched your soul, shared meals, movies, music, all the bouquets of flowers that you grew and nurtured and picked and presented with such love. We are grateful for your ecstasy in the ocean and the beach, the birds and the sun shining on water, the way you walked with grace upon this earth. We are grateful. May your dreams be sweet as you sleep your forever peace. May we remember your joy of living, where you lived by the edge of the lagoon with a view of the mountain, close to friends to love, music and art to enjoy. Gratitude for you, my aunt, in all but blood. Thank you for your gentle gratitude. And this is the one that I wrote about a month after she passed, and it's called Beautifully Fearless. She stretched her wings and flew, a beautifully fearless soul, taking off into infinity, the energy released on gossamer wings shining purple, rainbow, hues of many colors, all one, and yet each a treasure, a gem as she left. Hearts broke, sad, bereft, a void, the sorrow swamped, loss felt, the edges of the heart cracked and broken. But the memory of love, the life lived, the touch of hand, the kind word, the dancing spirit soothed from afar. Remember, whispered the birds, the ocean roar, the soft breeze, I am always here, as wings flapped and tears spilled, until empty the mourners rose and walked and turned to glimpse the setting sun. Goodbye, they whispered on the wind, and caught the faint hint of wings fluttering right there in their hearts. And a sigh that spoke love, and the sound of a song without words, a humming symphony that rose from the very core and settled fluttering at the edges. And peace was theirs for a moment, before the next step took them on, and days and weeks would go by, and the time, the sound, the beauty forgotten, until the sun rose again, and the glow caught the eye, and memory returned, and love beat in hearts again, and the whispers were returned, and kind words were spoken, and the memory could be held and treasured and savored, and somewhere out there, the wings, gossamer, many-hued, rainbow, sparkling, glittering, fluttered and flapped and soared, suspended for a time on the currents of the wind, and together again, the memory of a soul found home in the hearts of those who remembered, and the blue sky held them all, and time stilled, and the peace drifted to land, to be received in solace as the sun rose again, and a beautifully fearless soul was remembered.
So I'm going to invite Dale up next. I'm just going to read a short statement from Ilonka, who's a very close friend of Eleanor's, who was here earlier and was not able to make it for the memorial. Anyways, Ilonka says, Eleanor has been and still is one of the most precious gifts of my life. She showed me what a deep friendship looks like, and she challenged my fears to let in this big, beautiful love. I'm so grateful for the privilege of sharing the dance of life with Eleanor. Dale, and then if Judy, if you want to say anything, we've got a wireless mic that we can provide.
What a pleasure to see so many people who were touched by Eleanor's life. It's pretty amazing because she wasn't a public figure. She wasn't, except for serving on the community center board for many years, she wasn't the kind of public figure who would directly affect your life. And yet all these people remember her so beautifully. We have a long history. Soon after I moved to Bolinas, Elizabeth Tuami said, oh, there's a woman you should meet. She plays recorder. Knowing that I was a musician, she thought somehow because we would like each other because she played recorder. And I went down to meet Eleanor, and we became a couple for about 3 years. And it's a very interesting history because after Eleanor and I broke up, about a year or so later, I got together with Judy, and Rick and Eleanor and Judy and I became close, very close friends, and continued seeing each other over the years, having many, many dinners together at our house or at their house. And so it's an unusual and very treasured friendship. More than anybody I know, she was so focused on cultivating and enjoying the good and the beautiful in life, and which included a tremendous appreciation of the arts. And she was, throughout our lives, a great fan of my music and of Judy's art. And I always when I played gigs, it was always a pleasure to look out at the audience, and I must say about 9/10 of the people were chattering away, but Eleanor was always listening intently to what I was playing. And she was always there at the opening of Judy's gallery with a bouquet. Every week a new bouquet. She was a great fan of Judy's painting. And they had their quibbles about it. And Eleanor, having been brought up in the light of the Phillips collection, which her uncle was one of the great collectors of art in the world, the Phillips collection in Washington, D.C. She actually kind of considered herself something of an authority on art, and she didn't always, and Judy and her didn't always agree, but they had wonderful arguments about that. And on the whole, she really treasured Judy's work. And unlike many people in town who simply regretted when Judy moved from painting realistically to more abstract work, Eleanor really dug it. Well, yes, she focused so much on the good and the beautiful, and even in the hardships which we have all been going through more as we get old, the afflictions of the body failing and so forth. It's amazing how she took delight in learning, in studying what was happening to her and learning ways to deal with it. She actually took great pleasure and was tremendously interested in what she could do to change this or change her diet or change something to make her body work better. Early on, she was a very fine artist making pottery, and later in life, as Rick mentioned, she regarded her life itself as her art form. She would actually say, "My life is my art form." And then even in death, which was so amazing, as Anna remarked, she approached her death not with a sense of calamity, but with a real interest. I wonder what's coming next. This is a little risky, but I was going to write something called "What Annoyed Us About Eleanor Lyman." Because in any relationship, there are things that annoy you about the other person. And Eleanor had certain habits in conversation, in social situations, that sometimes we were annoyed with. That is, she had very little. Really, soon before her death, soon before she became sick, I was intending to give her a talk and say, "Eleanor, you've got to learn to enjoy gossip." Because she didn't. She was at a social gathering. She would patiently sit there, looking bored or even a little annoyed as we passed about, just normal chit chat about who was doing what to whom, and talking about Trump, of course. A lot of us talk about Trump as a kind of voyeurism. It's in a way it's fun to talk about this awful guy. But Eleanor was so appalled by him, she didn't want to bring up the subject at all. But so she had certain restrictions about what she liked in social conversation. So she'd sit there looking bored or annoyed for quite a long time, and then suddenly, with no relation to anything anybody else had been talking about, she'd say, "I've been reading the most interesting book." Or she'd say, "I've been listening to Glenn Gould's Beethoven." Well, but it's interesting that this, which sometimes I'm a little ashamed to say, sometimes we made fun of, is an example of what was so strong in her life that she really focused on the good and the beautiful and what makes life a joy and a pleasure.
I'd be walking down the street and suddenly I'd see this vision. It was Eleanor with the smile. Hi. And the purple clothes, it had this regal majesty. A friend of mine that I lived with, many of you may have known her, named Nilcha Dihan. And she's doing well, and she's in Amsterdam. So she wrote this poem, and I'm going to read it. Eleanor, your love of art and color, good food, movement and dance, your love of the ocean, the lagoon, the earth, the trees, the plants, your communication with people. Your experience was always intense. It all is a representation of your deep appreciation of life. Your sweet smile I will miss. I send you hereby a kiss from my heart. Now that you left this world behind, we are not apart. So I have a little poem that I've done before, but I dedicated to Eleanor. On the road to peace, a spirit wings its way to the ocean of life and death. And when peace is upon us, we close our eyes and our hearts open to the universe. We sing, we dance, we dream of a time when our beings become one with the light, and we melt in the breath of love. Amen.
Be here, and like all of you, just miss Eleanor terribly. She deeply affected my life with her radiance and joy. I'm a chiropractor and practitioner of the healing arts. I lived in Bolinas for 5 years, 1976 to 81, and moved back. I did off my degree and so forth, moved back to West Marin about 10 years ago. And I had the pleasure of treating Eleanor for 40 years. And so I'm a specialist in pain in the musculoskeletal system. And one remarkable thing is, for all of us, pain is the great leveler. We get irritable, we get upset, we get angry, we get nervous. And it's a great test for our spirit. And when Eleanor would come in, she would have various, whether it was a knee or a neck and those kinds of things. She was radiant and bright. And she never lost that glow, that radiance inside. So when I would check in, okay, what's going on? How you doing? Well, she would describe it like she was just talking about the weather. Well, my left knee hurts and I've got sciatica and that's about it. It was like, oh my God, that's very high level, right? That she can just be present with pain and inside, but that's just part of the great balance of everything. There's no different that was anything to be worried about or stressed about or anything. So as some of you have said, I really saw her as sort of a living saint in that way. That she had this radiance about her. And in the last couple of years I did lots of visits, to home care, and she had some struggling there at the end, but always I would see her with a big smile and great radiance no matter what was going on with her. So it was a great honor to be part of her healthcare team. So to Eleanor, thank you.
She felt that you were a really huge support during that last week in the hospital. She really she relied on your judgment You know, were you one of the last people she talked to?
Yeah.
Tara, do you want to? This is my daughter, Tara Adams.
I met Eleanor, who would become my father's life partner for 30 years when I was already an adult. I'd already had a step-parent or two before, and I was soon to be a mother myself for the first time. I'd already crafted a dark sense of humor and a very strong sense that I didn't like to be redirected to the positive. A Gen Xer to my core, I must admit that I remain delighted by the subversive and draw a good deal of my daily joy from the juxtaposition of the terrible and the ridiculous. I think I presented a very confounding puzzle for someone like Eleanor. And our relationship continued to reflect a kind of push and pull alongside an ongoing, sincere effort to make space for one another just as we were. Eleanor has been a fixture in our family's life for all the years since my kids were born. She never styled herself as their grandmother, but she was an important adult in their lives and a part of the family, never needing any title other than her name. When I think of Eleanor, my mind tends to settle first on the word iridescence. She possessed a sort of unworldly luminosity that was clearly for her own enjoyment and the delight of those around her, but was never for show or for sale. I always delighted in selecting gifts for Eleanor ahead of Christmases together. There are too few people in the world who truly deserve a delicately decoupaged seashell, a pair of handmade Angora purple gloves, or a painstakingly coiled felted flower made by a small artist in Ukraine. Eleanor always understood both the value and the intention of these gifts. Too few people notice the beautiful as fully as they should, but Eleanor always did. This mutual appreciation for beauty and creativity was the place of connection that I ultimately found with her. But I want to say I appreciate her most for the years of happiness she gave my father. She brought a good deal of joy and meaning to his life, and I could tell that they fit together along their jagged edges as well as along the smooth, which is as much as any of us can ever hope for in a partner. And I thank her from the bottom of my heart for all the joy that she gave him. I was shocked that the world lost her so suddenly and unexpectedly, but I admired that she died with as much grace as an intention and as much iridescence as she lived. And I hope that the iridescence and beauty she gave the world will have longevity for my dad and for her community and for everyone who cared for her. Blessed be.
To the Alexander technique and interested her in taking a week-long workshop with Marge Barstow, a 90-year-old first-generation student of FM Alexander. An accepting way. You never really know how someone may or may not walk their talk in that kind of situation, but she absolutely did walk her talk. To be in the presence of that was no way easy, but it was a pretty awesome, in the literal meaning of the word awesome. People through her intentions, actions, and way of being in the world. During that last week, I sang to her a lot, and in particular, a song that I had written to her back in 2011, which became, as it were, our song, Our Love Makes It a Sunny Day. Alright, whatever may go wrong, I know it won't be long before it is through. And even if it's rough, I know we can hang tough, because we are too big to fail. You can bet without doubt we won't need a bailout, 'cause we are saving sunshine for a rainy day.
That it permeated her being on a cellular level that allowed her to be this like beautiful, completely inspiring and like healthy.
This or change diet, or change something to make her body work better.
Here in this room, and she's listening to everything that's being said, and she's enjoying it all. And I miss her entirely, but I also know that she'll always be with me and with this community. We will never forget her and forget her. She was ready to go. She was so curious about that death, and it really troubled me. How can you be curious about death? Forget it. But she knew better. She knew better, and she loved everything.
Oh, thank you. Wow. This is amazing. You know, we're talking about an angel. We're talking about a saint.
And I wrote a little something, so I'll read that. I remember our walk. When she visited for Christmas, she would walk through the dry desert neighborhood in the mountains. Here, they built the 2 atomic bombs that took the lives of hundreds of thousands in bright, terrible flashes. A colossal tragedy remembered cheerfully on our buses, the Atomic City Transit. It's poetic then, perhaps, that she breathes such life into the air around her, vivacity and joy flowing into a town known mostly for the creation of such disastrous death and despair. She wore colorful clothes of fine fabric and glowed bright rays of sun as she walked joyfully through the stables, putting horses and feeding them spare bundles of grass from the parched ground. This nature wasn't always the best suited for me or my family. Our quirks clashed together, sometimes in ways that could be grating, I think both for us, for both of us. And yet, I think all of us can recognize that her nature was beautiful. I'd bound along as a little kid, her smiling alongside me. As I've grown, those saturated, joyous colors of childhood have faded among the cold, uncaring, consequential gray of reality. And yet, when I look, I can still see those bright, vibrant colors of life and nature, especially on my walks. And I don't think it's wrong to assume some of that color is hers.
Thank you. John Glavis.
Well, let's have a moment of grace for all of us together here. It feels, as a teacher once told me, when we gather together, we create an entity that only lives as long as we're together. So this is our body. It's a nice body. So Eleanor, oh, why did you have to go? But we don't have answers for that. But we used to dance together a lot. My relationship with her was a lot about dancing. and driving to Point Reyes to the dance gathering and laughing a lot about how ridiculous everything is. And the radiance, the words that have been shared here already really match the profound diversity and compassion of that woman. Compassion, radiant purple compassion. So I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I was going out and there was this poem that I had just read. And I thought, oh, it's by Edgar Allan Poe. So why do you have to always be a Scorpio? You might have already heard this, but I want to share it with you. I think it really touched me in a special way. It's called Dream Within a Dream. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow. You are not wrong who deem that my days have come and are a dream. Yet if hope has flown away, in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, but how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep. While I weep. Oh God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? Oh God, can I not save one from the pitiless way? All that we see as a dream within a dream. Is it all just a dream? Slipping like life, sand through my fingers, it seems? Can we ever really know if what we see is just a show? Kiss upon my brow as we say our goodbyes now. Life's been a fleeting show. Dreams within dreams that just come and they go. Oh, this shore waves crash and roar. I hold the sand, wanting more. Golden grains, how they flee. Now back to the deep. Now wild and free.
Thank you. So I see two more people on the list here, which is a pine tree.
Well, hi guys. I'm pretty sure that when Eleanor got to the pearly gates, the first thing they gave her was a purple shawl. And when I first met Eleanor, it was from afar. And I wanted to meet her right then, but I held back because her spirit literally pushed me. She was so kind, so loving. I can't say enough of that. I was blessed with many occasions to go to her place and fix stuff, what I do best. And with Eleanor's spirit here, with the spirit, her spirit that she left in all of us here, what a great celebration. God bless everyone.
Ilka. Ilka.
Then you need to stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, well, then I'm at the end of the list, but we could, take a food break and, then, I'm still open for anybody that wants to say what they. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes. Okay, and after, what?
I spent 2.5 days looking for this, one of my most treasured possessions in my life. It's one of the plates Eleanor made. And then I came here and there was all of this that you had gathered. Really wonderful. So in the early 70s, I think, I traded with Eleanor 3 of these plates. And I traded them for a camera, a Pentax camera, and some photography lessons because they were quite expensive because they are so beautiful. I come from a culture in Northern Europe where blue and white just makes everybody happy. Blue and white is on all the tires and the big farmhouses on the stoves. And this was like the exaltation of it all. As you can see, it is not circular, it's irregular, and I just delighted in that. And my son, who's almost 50 now, remembers when I was looking for it, how we always got these 3 plates I had out for real special occasions. And that's what I always connected to Eleanor, and it was a great joy to have such a thing of beauty in my life, just a small part of hers, but a very, very big part of mine. Thank you.
Mariano Oni Hamel, who's Eleanor's cousin, daughter of Eleanor's cousin, and
Second cousin?
well, we've been through this many times.
Yeah, but we had a ceremony at one point, an aunting, so she was my aunt.
Oh, okay.
We didn't file paperwork or anything.
Okay.
That's how I knew her. So yeah, I've been in her garden and walking with her on the beach here since I could walk. And it's so nice to be here. And what I wanted to share was, I wasn't planning on sharing this, but after she passed, I made a note in my phone that's called Eleanorisms, which were just the things that she used to say. And Ilanka, her friend, and Rick and my mom helped me add things as we thought of them, but I thought I would read them. And I'll try to bring her spirit to them, because she did have a certain way of saying things. And also, when I'm done, if anybody has things in their mind that they can hear her saying, or that she used to say a lot, I'd love to hear them. So I have here, my life is getting better and better. Far out. And when she would see me or talk on the phone, she'd say, well, hello, dear girl. Well, hello, beautiful. Well, hello there, beautiful girl. I'm learning so much. My body is my teacher. What a trip. She had this way of saying, woohoo! This is just my favorite. Ilanka said towards the end she had come to some realization that it was all about AAA, which stood for accept, accept, accept. Accept what is. She had a special way of calling for you, Rick, that somehow, like, Rick! Ilanka said something like, that was her way of asking for help. Yes. Coming home to your body. Fabulous. The music was so fabulous. We talked about how everything was fabulous. Isn't wonderful? Is that so? Marvelous. What a marvelous place. Make your life a work of art. My life is my work of art. Let's get together. Getting curious. We talked about getting curious a lot. Noticing without judgment. Oh, goody. How about that? And then a special one was enjoy being you, which was one of the last things she said to me, or perhaps the last thing she said to me. She said, enjoy being you. And I was thinking about her iridescence and how that can continue on, and I feel like all of us enjoying being us to the highest degree would be carrying on her legacy.
Okay, go for it. Martha Wax.
I wrote this poem this morning early, and then I worked on it in the park for Eleanor. As I toss a healthy seaweed salad in a big shiny bowl for you, thinking many mutual friends and family will have some, hopefully. You're bringing us together to break bread. Oh, I hope you like it, and I hope they will too. As I sit here this early morning in the fog on the mesa with 2 sleeping cats, waves of memories come lapping up and receding like the Pacific so near. Recollections flow into and over one another. Unimportant, really, are my personal private thoughts. I figure the big picture is relevant. I wrote relevant. Since you've changed and left us with your presence, your apparent absence, and this elaborate special celebration of your many-faceted life, you've touched us and it lingers. Sometimes fierce like winter storms, often bright and proud like summer blooms. Sometimes spring majesty is the same. Of course, into sweet, subdued fall, our meetings and greetings over these years were often at the Kent estate as I visited my dear friend Barbara. Listening to Rick and Dale playing music for us. How many times do we pass each other, like 2 schooners bringing lumber to build this small coastal town? How many times did we share or hide our secret thoughts about our circumstances? It's too much to put a number on, too heavy to try to weigh. Now that you've died, continuing your journey, and we get together today to talk, eat, dance for you, via con Dios. And this is a quote from a song by a friend. I'm coming back, or I'll come back as the rain.
So I am going to close this portion with, please, you talk. I'm sorry, did you get on the list or did I just forget? Oh, okay. Yes, Utah is responsible for making this beautiful exhibit of Eleanor's work here. It goes way back to
Now that you mentioned it, how many of you met Eleanor before 1970? So that's very few, and that was one of the reasons that's one of the reasons I got involved with this. I also tracked down at least one friend from the early days who's sitting in the back from Berkeley. We were a group of 4 women that continued meeting quite a while, even after Eleanor had moved out here. But we all shared ceramics, clay. We didn't call it ceramics. Clay, pottery, pots. That was what it was about. And that's when I met Eleanor. And by the way, I've been living here 18 years, and I see faces, but I don't know very many of you. And but my friendship with Eleanor has continued through her passing. And those first formative years, I think maybe are what I want to just say a few things about. It's an early performance of hers. We met in Berkeley in the 60s. The revolution that was going on at that time and around that place, is, judging by your age, many of you might have been part of, also included clay. And Rick mentioned in his lovely talk, the original Peter Vogel's studio, of which some of my ceramic friends were part of. That was when clay became more than pottery, or pottery became more than a pot. It was exciting. So that is where Eleanor also was finding her younger self. And in the display, by the way, when Rick had announced that he was going to ask for contributions of items, I offered to help, not realizing what a big project it was going to be. I mean, I'm familiar with all this, but really, it was amazing, and it was very useful to go through that process of how we change with what we write, what we make. So just to point out that the way the table is arranged, at this end are the early works that were made either in the studio pot, the pot shop that was taught by Peter Vogel's at the time, and I came in a few years later, also taught by Peter Vogel's at the new building. And those were the early pots of Eleanor's. If we continue, I've got dates on there. There's a break. There's these very structured pots that are unlike the early ones. I don't recall what happened. I mean, I knew her then, but I think it had something to do with doing work for a show at her aunt Marjorie's. Was it Marjorie that had the Phillips anyway? And she was making formal art. It's very structured. And then if you proceed down, you'll see the years, what happened when she moved to Bolinas. And if you'll ring all kinds of possibly recognizable things, but I hadn't thought of it before, but the recent work, the Celadon Green Blue, is so much associated with water, so I can't help but think that has to do with being here in Bolinas. Anyway, I don't want to belabor that history so much. What it was that Eleanor, as I, and Minnie, discovered clay not only because I think of what was going on, but we just loved the malleability and the shape of it. And one of the things that, as I listened to the wonderful verbal presentations, one of the things that came to my mind was about ceramic itself, and it seemed so appropriate for that age, what drew us in and what came out of it, and it was different for all of us. And that's, as the nature of ceramics, meaning it's one of those art forms where you really don't know what you made until it comes out of the kiln. And are there accidents there? It's not a full control operation at all. So one of the things that was done, at least at that time, many of us would we'd take clay and mush it and make a little kiln god that you would sit on the door of your kiln and hope that she would protect and bring your work through. And when it didn't, many things would happen. For example, a glaze that Eleanor used, we used to call it Ellie's Red, is based on copper in a certain kiln atmosphere coming out blood red or coming out greenish, kind of not what we wanted. So we couldn't always control that. So there's a kiln god guarding you. There's the clay that may or may not make it the pot through the firing, and you're taking a risk, and it takes time and patience, etc. But then the surprise, the wow, I mean, whatever expression Eleanor would say, wow, look what happened. And also, as I get older and I think about impermanence, transitioning, there's something for you with clay, transitioning from, wet to dry to fired and all of that. There is the other thing. It is one of the major objects by which we study past cultures because it survives. Cloth, fiber, all kinds of products of, quote, civilizations. We read about it a lot through pottery pieces and other ceramic pieces. So it seems like, this is reading Eleanor's life for a small period of time, but there's a lot there, of course, for all time, for all.
Kathleen Powell, I missed that being on my list. We must not miss this.
This is for Eleanor. It's The Promise by Tracy Chapman.
If you wait for me, then I'll come for you. Although I travel far, I always hold a place for you in my heart. If you think of me, if you miss me once in a while, then I'll return to you. I'll return and fill that space in your heart. Remembering your touch, your kiss, your warm embrace, I'll find my way back to you. If you be waiting. If you dream of me like I dream of you, in a place that's warm and dark, in a place where I can feel the beating of your heart. Your touch, your kiss, your warm embrace, I'll find my way back to you. If you be waiting. Oh, I long
tell that it's a complete Eleanor outfit. I just wanted to close this out with a poem that actually Eleanor had come across during a workshop that she had taken some few years ago on making friends with death. And she had asked me to write a song to this poem, which is original. The title of the poem is Prescription for the Disillusioned by Rebecca Del Rio. And I call it Come You to This Day.
Mic up.
Come you to this day, remove the rigid overcoat of experience, remove the notion of knowing, the beliefs that cloud your vision, cloud your vision. Leave behind the stories of your life. Spit out the sour taste of unmet expectation. Stale scent of what ifs weft back into the swamp of your useless fears. Arrive curious without the armor of certainty, without the plans and the planned results of the life you've imagined, without the plans or the planned results of the life you